Hello to those listening. This is the freest of speech. And this time, I'm going to talk about something that's close to my heart. And what I mean by that is, I am a big fan, and I do love the old sayings. You can't, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Um, a broken clock is right twice a day. An apple a day keeps a doctor away. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I love old sayings because there's like little tidbits of just unarguable realism, just straight up pure truth, and a nice little tidbit. And it's I always love those things. They're beautiful in my book, and because they've been around for so long, you may change the examples a little bit, but for the times, but they're just the same little truths that's been alive for millennia. And that brings me to this one saying that men are only after one thing. Now, this saying has been around for a long time. Again, just like the other ones, just altered to fit the time frame it's in. But it's a simple truth. And the simple truth to men are only after one thing means that women only have one thing to offer, and that's sex. Now, I know you may say that I know someone who's different or myself may be different, but the truth is, here's another one: an exception to the rule does not disprove the rule. So, with that being said, because some news article that I happened to be reading about some new kind of regulations, or it wasn't new kind of regulation, it was just somebody being screwed over by the regulations. And it was some very mundane thing that I wish I kept the article, but I didn't. But it was just something along the lines of, if you feel like someone is making a sexual advance towards you, then it's sexual harassment and now they're in trouble. And because they talk about you feeling it, that means if you walk to somebody and they say hello to them, then they perceive that as you trying to hit on them and yada yada yada, stupid and ridiculous. The thing about this is, I took this little colloquialism and this little realization I was having, and I asked a bunch of different women, different ages, different backgrounds, different races. And I've been doing this for a while, a couple of weeks or so. And the thing about it was, I wanted to see what their response was. I kind of framed it like a card game. You know, it's you got a hand and I got a hand. Let's throw down our cards and see what we got, right? And you score points. Your point scoring system is real simple. It's what I throw down a card, you can't counter it with itself. So when I talk to a lot of these women, a lot of these people gave me the same example, because I will start with, you know, men are only after one thing because women only offer one thing, and that's sex. So I said eliminate sex, and what do you have when it comes to relationships? And then some women came with, oh, you get companionship. So I said, according to the rules that I've set up, I have companionship too. It's something that's both people get. Then you say you get encouragement. So I said, you get encouragement too. But then again, I can also get encouragement from other people around me. The relationship's not necessary, which are also tied to companionship. You can have companionship without being in a relationship with someone. What else you got? Then a bunch of other innocuous things like cooking and cleaning services, which I counter with maid services, which is cheaper and more effective. And I think somebody said something about like reflexes, or the ability to multitask, and I was like, weird. But the thing about it was, they really had nothing, which goes back to that same little colloquialism of men are only after one thing, and these women could not show me that women offered any one thing but the sex part. Because when I threw down my cards of being the quintessential, traditional or gender roles aspect, you get the protector, meaning I, the man, must put myself at risk to protect you, the woman. Provider, I, the man, will go out there and bring back what you need to survive. And then the abuse sponge. I, the man, will take your crap on the chin and use stoicism to get past it. So, in the way the little example game works, I got 3 points on the board, they got zero. Now, what I also, I'm doing is said that these are your three basic primary things when it comes to these traditional man roles. Now, these can all be done in different percentages, but you still get the same three. I use the example of you may have a gold digger, and for her, the protection and abuse sponge roles aren't that important. The provider one is. It's gonna be a higher tier. And I said, oh, we have a woman who had a more tumultuous childhood, and for her, the protector role is a hell of a lot more important to her than the abuse sponge or provider role. And the abuse sponge is just a woman who just likes to just hyper emotional and chooses not to learn to control them. So the abuse sponge is necessary for her. But with all these things said, and because I've had to reuse these things again and again and again, there was really, like I said before, no counter to it. There was nothing that these women can provide us or say that could say that here, this is something else that I provided to men. This is something that they benefit from. That didn't have to do with sex. Because even though I've initially said leave sex out of it, which also takes romance and children out the equation, they still went to romance and children and even sex. So, with all that being said, it kind of swings right back to the original article that put the thought in my head. In when I actually talked to the women, came to me this little conclusion here that you have a group of people out there who want to alter the social makeup, trying to expand the definition of sex crimes like rape and sexual assault and things of that nature, making it more difficult to for men and women to interact like they usually interact. You have feminists out there who try to scare women by thinking there's rapists around every door and every corner. And the thing is this: men being the pursuers, and they're only after the one thing because, well, the majority of women only have the one thing to offer. Any impediment that you put in the road to block that forces women to have to step their game up. And the thing about it is because women are still the passive aspect of of our sexually dimorphic roles, they don't like it. You again, you can still point to your outliers who are more upfront and aggressive with what they want, but again, we're not talking about the outliers. The exceptions do not disprove the rule. And this kind of ties into something I seen earlier, but probably everybody knows now that men, when they do the survey of men and women and happiness, women are getting more unhappy and men are pretty much the same. Most people realize nothing has really changed for men to make them worse or better off, but things have changed for women that makes them worse off. And here's the thing: when you look at this aspect that of them of what I'm going down the line of, men are only after one thing, and these people are using social spheres to um, restrict that. You have a group of women who are coming up in a world where the pursuers don't want to pursue, and the pursuees only have the one thing to offer. I don't know if the people thought this part out already, but well, let's be serious. Of course, I'm wrong. I already know they didn't think this out. They just did the part that they wanted to do. And this is one of the things I think has helped leading up to the unhappiness level in women. Because if you look at say the U.S. divorce rate as high as it is, a lot of people going on their second, third, hell, sometimes fourth or fifth marriages. And for the women, you now have generations of men who are coming up who don't want to pursue because they don't want to take hits. So they stay lonelier longer because they're not the ones who are told or trained or have the drive to move forward and try to grab what they want. Again, the majority. And that was my thoughts on this subject. This was the freest of speech. Thanks for listening.